Hello, everyone. My name is Andrey Gunawan, and I'm a research faculty at the George W. Woodruff School of Mechanical Engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology in downtown Atlanta. This is part three of the Mastering the Elevator Pitch series, where I will go over some do's and don'ts and present an exercise for how to plan a pitch of yourself for a networking or interview situations. I would also like to point you to the part one and the part two of the series, where part one is an introduction to pitching and why pitching skills are important. The second part breaks down the essential elements of a successful pitch. Now, to start the part three, I would like to play a video by Justin Young called Engineering Great First Impressions. Justin is a chief aircraft engineer at Denmark Technical Services. Let's take a look.
Making great first impressions is hard work. You have to master a clear and concise personal version of your story, right? And not only that, but you have to have sort of upright body language, make eye contact, and even carry on an intelligent conversation for a little while with another human being. Tough work, right, for engineers? Well, in his book about how to make how to make people like you in just under 90 seconds, author Nicholas Boothman goes on to talk a lot about rapport and the importance of rapport in establishing relationships. Regarding rapport, he puts it into three distinct buckets. I'm going to talk about those briefly. The first bucket is natural rapport. This is rapport established based on common interest. The second kind of rapport that Boothman goes on to talk about is called rapport by chance. This is fleeting. It's not really permanent. It's something that happens by accident and then it's gone. Just imagine you're on vacation in some foreign land, you're sitting in a restaurant, and you hear a distinct voice next to you. You don't know the person, but they're speaking your language, or they happen to mention a sports team, or somewhere you're going to go on your next stop. This is rapport by chance. It just comes, you maybe can go talk to that person for a few minutes, and then both of you will go on your way. But you're really not there to invest in a long-term relationship with a person. And the third kind of rapport is rapport by design, which is really the purpose of this talk, right? Now, in November 2012's issue of Inc. magazine, I happen to like business magazines, so I read a lot of them. Inc. magazine gave us three simple guidelines for how to make introductions. The first is keep it simple. The second is focus on the other person. And the third is context is key in your interaction. So if you read the supporting descriptions on this little article, this nugget of business wisdom from our friends at Inc., you'll find the real wisdom. And I quote, provide the bare minimum the other person needs to know about you and let the ensuing conversation reveal more about yourself. And then shut up and ask questions and actually listen. So rule one was keep it simple, right? That means be brief, be clear, be concise. It doesn't mean you have to be dull, does it? What was the second piece of advice for Make magazine? It was focus on the other person, right? That doesn't mean focus some of your attention. It means focus all of your attention on the other person. Don't look around. Don't look past them. Don't look at your shoes. I do that a lot. Try not to look at your shoes. Carry on a conversation with the other person at their level, looking at their face. Since we're on the topic of don'ts, don't interrupt. When you do interrupt, it's a huge sign that you've been sitting there thinking about what you're going to say next. Another don't finish sentences. I have this problem a lot. I love to jump in and finish sentences because it kind of feels like I'm so in tune with the other person that I know exactly what they're thinking and exactly what they're going to say. But in reality, it's downright rude. And it gets rather annoying after a while. So one more don't from Dale Carnegie. Does anybody know what it is? Yeah, it's three more don'ts. That's why you don't know. Dale Carnegie says, don't complain, don't condemn, and don't criticize. Focus on the other person and don't do any of these don'ts. And in closing, let me just wrap up with the third item. Context is key. In reality, context is king, right? You have to be aware of your location and your surroundings and the social norms and the cultural norms you're operating within. If you're at a baseball game, are you going to turn to the guy next to you or the gal next to you and say, hey, I'm a rocket scientist for Boeing. What do you do? Hey, I'm a field engineer and I work on gas turbines all day long for General Electric. Are they going to say, that's really cool? No, they're going to look at you like you're an idiot, right? Yeah, context is king in my book. So in closing, can you guys repeat them with me? Inc. Magazine's 3 guidelines. What was it? Keep it simple. Number 2, focus on the other person. You guys can do better than that. Number 3, context is king. Thank you.
Okay, so what are the 3 things that he mentioned about for the pitching? Number 1, keep it simple. 2, focus on the other person that you're talking to. And last but not least, context is the key. Well, in his case, is the king. While he have do and don'ts, I also have the do and don'ts that I want to share with you that is important during an elevator pitch. Number 1, speak slowly and avoid speeding up due to nervousness. Nervous, when it takes over, you all know what it can happen. So try to avoid speeding up even though you're nervous. 2, be succinct. Do not ramble. The second bullet also may happen because you're nervous, right? So practice makes perfect. 3, do not frown or speak in a monotonous way that you end up make the people that you're talking to get bored. Last but not least, do not restrict yourself to a single elevator pitch. Make sure you have elevator pitch number A, B, C, and D. So depend on the context, like Justin mentioned, you can use the other alternative of your elevator pitch. So now, let's try to do the exercise to pitch for yourself. There are 4 things that I would like to discuss here, but number 1, find your one sentence. Now, in order to prepare your one sentence, you want to first make a list of all the things that you are and that you do, and try to put them in a mixer and blend them into one single sentence. It may be long, but that's okay. Let me give you an example. Hello, my name is Andrey. I was born and grew up in Jakarta. I went for my bachelor and from my master's in aerospace engineering, but I did my PhD in mechanical engineering at Arizona State University. I took the job as a research faculty at Georgia Tech back in 2016, and I've been happily working as a Yellow Jacket since then, leading multi-million-dollar projects from the Department of Energy and private industry. And just a few weeks ago, I joined the Georgia Tech Rapid Response Team for COVID-19 on making makeshift ventilators, which have been delivered for testing and demonstrations at local hospitals. Number 2, your story. So, what are the defining moments and experience of your life that got you where you are today and interested in doing the work that you're pitching yourself for? Now, for example, let's say you're preparing for an interview as a coder. Think to yourself, did you grow up speaking several languages and then take a coding class in college that made you see code as simply another language to crack? To give you a really good example, I would like you to play a video by Columbia Mishra called How You Share Your Story. She is a senior thermal engineer working at Intel Corporation, and I have to tell you, this is a very exciting video. So watch closely.
thought that sending something from planet Earth into space was a step for mankind. So my elder brother is Apollo, and my younger brother is Challenger, and I'm Columbia. I thought mechanical engineering was never a choice for me because it's a degree not often pursued by a lot of women. Growing up, Kalpana Chawla was a big role model for me. She looks like me. She was from a very small town in India, and knowing that made a difference. But on February 1, 2003, Columbia Space Shuttle exploded. That was devastating for the whole world, and for me particularly because it's my namesake. I started reading up a lot about what went wrong, and I found out that there was a re-entry problem, there was excessive heat being generated, and I started to focus on understanding heat transfer more. And I think that kind of set me on the path to be a thermal engineer now.
Isn't that cool? How can you beat a story by a lady named after a space shuttle? Columbia, if you're listening to this recording, thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for sharing your story. And hopefully, we can learn from you how we introduce ourselves and use the story for our pitching. Number three, your why. So, no matter who your audience is, any good interviewer will ask some versions of the same questions. Why do you want to do this? Now, for example, if you were pitching yourself to be a guest blogger, let's say on a gluten free food blog, right? You want to say, hey, I've been looking for opportunity to reach a wider audience interested in leading a gluten free lifestyles, and I am a long-time reader and fan of gluten free blog. On your blog, by the way, I see an opportunity to expand your coverage on dessert recipes, which is exactly what I would like to write about and create for my own community. Lastly, why you, right? Make a list of all things you're awesome at, the things that people love you for, and the things that you are proud of. When you're done, ask a few friends and family why they think you will be a great for the opportunity you are chasing for. Once you've got all your awesomeness down in one place, filter them. Pick out only the pieces that feel the most relevant to whatever opportunity you're currently going for. And here's one last thing about pitching yourself. If you do not think you deserve it, no one else will either. In summary, I would like to again bring you to the part one and the part two of the series. Right? In part one, my colleague Hars Vyas, an ASME volunteers and a product design engineer at ITT Corporation in India, has given a really good introductions to elevator pitching. He also touched upon various contexts on why pitching skills are important and that planning and practice are even more important. So again, practice makes perfect. Additionally, in part two, my other colleague, Vikrant Chidarwar, a senior engineer for modeling and simulation at Siemens in Detroit, Michigan, discussed each individual element of elevator pitch that I show you here. The introductions, providing a summary of what you do, explaining what you can offer with context, making a connections with the audience, sparking their interest in you. And last but not least, a call to actions, which is usually happen at the end of your conversations or your elevator pitch. With that being said, I would like to thank everyone. I would like to thank Justin and Columbia, who I shared the video with you guys. I will also thank the ASME who organized this. And I want to wish everyone to stay healthy during this unusual time and the strange world that we're living today. Stay healthy and keep moving forward. Thanks again.